keep focus on you. All these small screens, they got me worried, vision blurry. But I hear you call me, so I'm coming in closer, closer than ever. So when the bomb drops, you will be my shelter. Everything changes, I'll be still, 'cause you're still the same. When I feel the war inside, I'll just keep focus on you. Let it be my battle cry. I'll just keep focus. I'll just keep focus on you. It doesn't matter what's coming, I'm gonna put on my armor. Left, right, left, right, left. One foot in front of the other. The war inside, I will just keep focus on you. Let it be my battle cry. I will just keep focus. I will just keep focus on you. Ooh, 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 ooh. I will just keep focus on you. Yes, I will. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I just keep focus. I will just keep focus on. Everything changes, I'll be still, 'cause you're still the same. You're my sure foundation, solid ground. You never change. Oh, when I feel the war inside, I will just keep focus on you. Let it be my battle cry. I'll just keep focus. I'll just keep focus on you.
Drown yourself in marvelous light. It's the kind about it nobody could describe. When you come down like lightning, all my enemies so frightened. When I pray protection, they flee in several directions. Thunder and lightning, you come down, and all my enemies they bend their knees against them. The sight is right, you're the one not to like it. When I pay protection, they flee several directions. It's a vibe, it's a vibe, it's a vibe. He's alive, he's alive, he's alive. It's a piece of bite, piece of bite, piece of bite. When I pay protection, they flee several directions. Thunder and lightning, you come down, and all my enemies you bend their knees against them. The sight is right, you're the one not to like it. When I pay protection, they flee several directions. When I pay protection, they flee several directions. Thunder and lightning, you come down, and all my enemies you bend their knees against them. The sight is right, you're the one not to like it. When I pay protection, they flee several directions.
I got something on my mind, but words, they won't do it justice. I could write it on the side, but words, they won't do it justice. I need a translator at the tip of my tongue. There's a freight train of emotion stuck in my lung. I need to get
is spinning, but I don't feel like we're moving. Maybe it's a sign of the times. Maybe I'm just out of my mind. Slowly getting by, day by day. And I say, there's gotta be something amiss. There's gotta be more than this. And always asking why are things this way. Well, I've been out here searching for something that is worth living for. Can you show me just what I've been missing? Oh, the one thing that was here all along. But you're the one that I'm searching for, searching for. Clearly, all this time you stood beside me, patient in my journey. I didn't notice it, but you were waiting for me. I found it all for myself. I'm not borrowing from anyone else. Walking out this life in my own faith. I've been out here searching for something that is worth living for. Can you show me just what I've been missing? Oh, the one thing that was here all along. But you're the one that I'm searching for.
Hi there, and welcome to the Ridge Community Church Online. I'm Kelly, and I have the privilege of serving on staff here, and we're so glad that you're tuning in today. And since we are in the great state of Wisconsin, I have to say it, go Pack Go! Because you know what? We have a fun start to our football season, and around here we are really excited because today we are starting a brand new series called Training Camp. And just like our Packers are gearing up for a great season, we believe God has something incredible in store for you and your life this season too. Now, if you're new or you're just ready to connect with us, I just want to say this is super easy. All you have to do is text us, and then we'll send you a quick form. And from there, you're able to find out everything you want or need to know about the Ridge, and you can stay in loop with all the things happening in and around this place. Now, as you're doing that, I'm going to send it over to our lead pastor, Mark, so that we can all attend training camp together.
All right, welcome everybody. Really glad that you're here, and stay a special welcome to Oak Creek Franklin. Man, guys, what a great story coming out of the OCF. Love that. If you're new here, my name is Mark, and I'm actually the lead pastor here. And I was on stage for a little bit last week, but I have been gone off stage for 4 months, 3 months on a sabbatical, and was off a month from here just because of what we're going to talk about here and the importance of it, as you'll see in a minute. But man, it is so good to be back. You look great. Okay, look great, look tanner, less green and yellow here, which is great. I appreciate that, especially with that inappropriate bumper. But man, it's just really good to be here. I can't even begin to tell you how much I've missed you and missed being here. And just, you know, like I said, it was tough for me because, man, if I wasn't doing what I do, I'd be going to this church. Okay, I mean, this is our family and all that good stuff. And so really good to be with you. And man, this is going to be a really, really exciting fall for us. And if you're new with us, over the last year, You've been hearing a lot about it today in the service. As a church, we've been in this season that we are calling bold. And it's a really bold season for us because our vision, we say it all the time, is to bring the hope of Jesus into every home. We're not concerned with infusing people with religion. We desperately want to bring people the one thing that we think that they are desperately looking for and need, and that is hope. And hope is not found in a situation or circumstances or even an experience. It's found in a person. And that person is Jesus. And since we've been starting it, man, just so many cool things have happened. And I tell you what, when you think about it, man, it's the greatest mission in the world. I mean, we get to partner with God as He's changing lives. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And our bold season is driven by a bold goal, which is to help 5,000 people find Jesus by the end of 2030. And, we're just, like I said, a year into this thing. We got some really cool stories. This past summer at our last baptism service, there was a guy named Brian, and Brian had just finished up with the Marine Corps. He was addicted to drugs and alcohol and was really far from God. Well, his wife became a follower of Jesus, and then her life is radically changed, and Brian begins to see the changes in her. And he's resistant, but he's seeing the changes. And man, she's praying like crazy for her husband. And then eventually, Brian makes a decision to follow Jesus. At his last baptism, he got baptized. Man, just really cool stuff. And now the two of them are going to be leading a group together. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, that's right, that's the kind of stuff that we want to see God do here. You know, today we are actually beginning a new series that is a big part of our bold season that we are calling Training Camp. One of the main questions I've gotten asked throughout the years is some version of this. How do I grow? How do I have faith? What's my next step? This series is going to answer that question. And the idea of training, that's going to come a little bit later in the message, so you see where that comes from. But here's what I'm going to do today. Today is an introduction to the series. And so I'm going to lay just a lot of foundational stuff. We're going to talk about a lot of terms and all that stuff because we need to know these things, and this foundation needs to be laid if we're going to fully understand the answer to this question about how do we grow in our faith. Now, we see a word that is used to describe growing in a relationship with Jesus, and that word is the word discipleship. And the word discipleship comes from the word disciple. And disciple, we may not use that word a whole lot, but a disciple, it just means this. It means a learner, a pupil, a follower. And so here's what discipleship is. It's just the intentional process where we deepen a relationship with Jesus, and through that relationship, and that's really key, through that relationship, we live the life He lived. And spiritual growth is an intentional process. It's not random. We just don't kind of pick and choose and all that stuff. And here's what's really cool. When we engage in that intentional process, God begins a work in us where we become like the greatest person in the world. So let me ask you as we move into the fall, how's your faith doing? How would you describe it? You know, maybe for some of you, you would say, you know, my faith is pretty weak. Maybe you just became a follower of Jesus and it's new for you. And listen, that's very normal. But for some of you, you know, you drifted over the past few months or years, or maybe for you, you are one bad thing happening to you or happening to someone close to you from just walking away altogether. You know, for others of you, you would say you have a wavering faith. And it's okay to have a wavering faith. That leads to a healthy wrestling. But for you, you waver back and forth to, I'm in, to, yeah, I'm not so sure. Hey, I'm committed, to doubting whether I want to do this thing anymore. You know, for some of you, I would describe your faith as like a whiny faith. You know, you ever be around a whiny kid that's like, why can't I, me, and they throw tantrums. I don't know if you know this about a tantrum, but there's no such thing as a selfless tantrum, okay? Tantrums are all about someone that doesn't get what they want. And for some of you, you don't even think about it this way, but that is really what your faith is. You are good with God as long as God does what you want Him to do, but then when He doesn't, you kind of throw your own version of a tantrum. And you are constantly complaining about what God's not doing for you and what you think you deserve and how Him and His people are never living up to your expectations. But for others of you, you have what I would call a warped faith right now. And here's what I mean by this. There are certain things that you believe and do that Jesus stands against, yet you credit Jesus for it. Let me give you a real popular example. You'll see this a lot with Jesus followers. They'll throw this around a lot. They'll throw this around. Well, God is love. God is love. God is love. And he is. But what they mean by that is that it doesn't matter what you believe and do, God is good with it because God is love. And so here's what we end up doing. We end up taking something that is prescribed of a culture or maybe something that we grew up with or a political party or some other influence in our life believes in, and then we attach our feeling to it, and then to justify it, we say, well, God is love. God is love. Doesn't really matter. He's good with it. I'm a parent, and I love my kids. I do anything for my kids. But there are certain things that if my kids did, I wouldn't tolerate it because I love them. Because ultimately I know it would do great harm for them. And our Heavenly Father is the very same way. But as we go through this series, here's what we want. We want to see every single person discover what I call winning faith looks like. Now, Jesus describes what winning faith looks like very clearly, and he gives us this word picture. Here's what he says in the book of John. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches. And in the word picture, I mean, we've all seen a garden or we've all been around landscaping, and it's like the vine is the main source and the branch is the offshoot. And so the thing is like, okay, Jesus is to be the main source and we are to be the offshoot in the whole thing. And then he says this, if you remain in me, and I in you. And that word remain sometimes is translated abide. Once again, not a term we use all that often, abide. But here's what abide means. To stay close to. And so Jesus is saying, you stay close to me, I'm going to stay close to you. And so what he's saying is, I want to be in a relationship with you, and here's how this relationship works best. I am the main source, and from that source, this is how you experience your life. And as you do, you will experience my presence and power and my promises in your life. And so he says, if you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. Bear much fruit. I want to lock into that. I love what a pastor in Texas, Matt Chandler, says. He says, you were made for the day, and the day was made for you. In other words, God uniquely made you. And he uniquely made you the way you are because he made you to partner with him to live a life that matters, to make an impact with your life. In the Bible, you constantly hear it. You constantly hear it talked about as fruit. It's this idea of bearing fruit. Now, here's the thing about fruit. Fruit is internally born, but then it externally shows up. Do you ever think about that? And what Jesus is saying, he's saying, hey, once a person gives their life to Jesus and they learn to abide in me and they allow the Spirit to do a work in him, he, not me, is going to produce fruit in our life. Now, the Apostle Paul, he actually took this idea of fruit and then he just expanded it and he called it the fruit of the Spirit. And here's what Paul wrote. He said, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Notice how he says fruit of the Spirit, not fruits of the Spirit. It's not plural, it's singular. So we can't say things like this, I'm really struggling with love, but man, I'm nailing peace right now. Man, I am just crushing it. It doesn't work that way because it's all the fruit of the Spirit. It is all one. You know, we look at this list, and for many of us, we struggle with this list because we try to manufacture these things in our life. But if you go to the grocery store and you want to buy produce, here's where you don't find it. You don't find it in the manufactured section. What do? You find it in the produce section because produce is produced from the inside out. I mean, have you ever looked at a tree and the tree is just trying to manufacture apples or peaches or whatever? No, what happens? The branch just abides in the tree, and then whatever is in it comes out of it because it's already in it. you've ever done this before? Do you ever like said, man, I just need more patience. I just need more patience. I'm certain none of you here ever prayed that before, but I have, and you just said, I need more patience, and then you prayed for it, and then you got in your car, and you were dumb enough to go into a Walmart parking lot, okay? And then you go into a Walmart parking lot. I do this all the time. And I don't know about you, but every time I'm in a Walmart parking lot, I feel like I just lose part of my soul, I just kind of leave it behind, and eventually it's all going to be there. And, and it's like you get done with it, and you're like, man, this patience thing is just going so slow. You ever just feel anxious and stressed about something? And, you go to bed, and you're in bed, and you're just like, okay, I got to muster up peace somehow. And, you're kind of sitting in bed, or maybe you're sitting, somewhere before you go to bed, and you're just like, okay, just breathe, God, peace, 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 peace. And you're praying for peace, and you're praying for peace, and you're praying for peace, and you just don't seem to be experiencing peace. For me, the ways the enemy fights against me is, I'll be stressed or anxious about something, and then he plants all these what-if scenarios in my mind if it doesn't work out, and so I'm just kind of playing that loop and playing that loop and playing that loop. And so I have to resist the temptation to kind of grab my phone and try to numb everything by just doom scrolling the whole time. Because if I do that, here's what I know what happens. It's going to push me away from Jesus, and it's going to actually make me more anxious. So I have to learn, what does it mean to abide and then experience through him that peace? And so what Jesus is saying, hey, listen, if you want to experience that type of life, here's what you need to do. You need to learn how to abide in me, and as you get closer to me, I'll begin to do a work from the inside out because I am already in you. The idea is this. We stay close to Jesus long enough, and then the Jesus stuff begins to spill out of us, and we don't even realize it. This is what a follower of Jesus does. This is a disciple. And it happens through intentional discipleship, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens over time. Now, one of the questions we need to ask ourselves, if that's the case, is, well, then why do so many people not experience what Jesus is talking about? I mean, why is that? Why is that? Because we hear stuff like this, and we're like, man, that's great. I don't experience that. Well, why is that? I have a theory. Okay, and I was on a sabbatical for 3 months, so I had 3 months to think about it. Okay, so here's my theory. Here's what I think the reason is. I think most of us, we settle for just believing in Jesus. Now, I know some of you are like, well, Mark, the New Testament and Jesus talks about, believing in him and being a believer, and that is true. But there is a big difference between how they would define believing and being a believer and how we define that today. You see, back then, to believe something, it meant to commit your heart and soul to something. And so when someone said, hey, I believe in something, they said, I'm committed to doing it. So back then, if they said, hey, I believe broccoli is good for you, that meant that they were actually committed to eating it. For us, when we say I believe, it just means I agree with. My wife Donna and I, this summer, we spent a couple weeks in Florida on vacation. And for us, we leave the hot to the hotter. I mean, that's kind of been our journey. We love going to Florida in the summer for some reason. And one of the reasons why Donna likes it so much is she loves seafood. I mean, she just loves seafood, and seafood's great down there. I can't stand seafood. Can't stand the smell of it, and the taste of it and the texture and all that. How many of you are my people with that? How many of you just can't stand seafood? Oh, more of you. I wanted to say like Jesus did, but I can't say that because, he ate fish and stuff, so I couldn't say that. And so, we're down there, and then we'd be out at a restaurant, and these restaurants, it's like 95% seafood stuff, and then they'll have like a grilled chicken sandwich, okay, to kind of help us out. And we'd be there, and then inevitably a waiter or waitress would say, oh, hey, but we have stuff. And hey, listen, it doesn't smell like fish. It doesn't taste like fish. And here's what I think every time someone says that. If you have to hide it, that's got to be a problem in and of itself, okay? I mean, it really does. But here's what they would, and my wife always says this to me. She goes, yeah, but it's good for you. And here's the thing. I believe it's good for you, but I am not touching that stinky stuff, And see, here's the thing. When we say believe in our culture, we can say, hey, I believe, but not do anything with it. And the same with you. We can say we believe in Jesus, but not really follow him. And there is a big difference between being a believer and a disciple or a follower. And let me give you a couple examples of why and see if any of these resonate with you. Let me give you a couple examples of what a believer does, or the mindset of a believer. Here's what a believer does. A believer picks and chooses based on what they like or don't like. And so it's like, man, I love what Jesus says about serving those in need. Man, but I don't like the whole thing about dating and sexual purity and forgiveness. That's not for me. A believer does the minimum required when it comes to following Jesus. Minimum required. And so it's like this. What is the mindset is, what's the minimum I have to do to just stay in God's good graces, to keep God happy? Now here's the thing. If this is you, and like I said, you just got to be honest with yourself about this. If this is you, you just need to know this. You don't really love God. And here's why. Can you imagine I go to my wife, Donna, and I say, hey, baby, what's the minimum amount I need to do to make you happy? You know, if that was the case, you wouldn't look at me and go, I want a marriage like that. Man, that is a fantastic marriage. You wouldn't do that. You'd be like, no, that's a bad marriage. Here's another statement. A believer does not prioritize following Jesus. And here's how we know what's important to us. You look at your calendar and checkbook. That's how you can tell right there. And so it's like a believer, they go to church once in a while if they have nothing better for them to do. Outside of church, they take very few, if any, steps in their life. You see, a believer, we can be a believer and not do anything with that and not really follow Jesus. And James, Jesus' half-brother, says, even the demons believe. Since when is our standard the demons? Okay, I think we can do better than them. Now, here's a disciple. A disciple is very different. Back then, here's what would happen. A young student would go to a rabbi, and he would walk up to this rabbi, and he would say, hey, I want to be your disciple. Can I follow you? And what that meant is that they would say, hey, I want to walk with you. I want to learn how you live, and what you do and say, I do. But Jesus, and this is one of the things I love about him, he would always break the cultural norms that were holding people back. He did the approaching, and he would go to people and he would say, I want you to follow me. I want you to be my disciple. And I want you to walk with me, and I want you to learn how I live, because what I do and say, you do. Because the life that Jesus lived is the life that we were created to live. And so what a disciple says is, I am giving my entire life, not picking and choosing, no minimum required, giving my entire life to following you. Jesus, you are the priority. Which begs the question, how do we do that? Which is what this series is all about. How do we do that? How does someone grow in their relationship with Jesus? Well, the New Testament actually gives three images. It gives more than that, but three main images of what discipleship could look like. And these images are word pictures, are so powerful. Let me just quickly go through the three. Here's the first image you see throughout the New Testament. It's like a battle image. Here's what Jesus said in John 10. He said, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Or the abundant life, or it's another way of saying to bear fruit. What Jesus is saying is that we have a spiritual enemy who is constantly fighting against us, trying to keep us or prevent us from abiding in Jesus. And here's the thing, you know this. And here's how you know this. You ever notice how much resistance or how hard it is to take steps closer to Jesus in your faith, whatever that may be, going to church or things like that. And it's as easy as can be to go in the opposite direction. Years ago, when I was a new Jesus follower, I would sit in a service, and the singing time and worship time would be going on, and I would see people lift their hands in worship, and I'd be like, man, people have a lot of questions in this church, they're raising their hand and all that stuff. I didn't really know what that meant, and finally someone had said to me, they said, hey, that's actually a sign of surrender. That's a posture of humility. when we do that. And so I thought, well, oh man, I want to try that. And so I can remember the first time, I'm there, and the song is going. I'm like, God, I really want this posture of humility. I want to raise my hand. But then I'm like, I don't want to raise my hand because what are people going to think? And what if they're looking at me? And I mean, there's just all this resistance. I don't want to look stupid and all that stuff. And it feels uncomfortable, God. So I was just like this for the longest time. Then it was kind of like, and then it was kind of like down quick. And so there's just all this resistance. Last summer, I am at the University of Miami Hurricanes, which I graduated from, ranked number 5, by the way, in case you want to know, and the University of Florida Gators game. It's in Gainesville and all that stuff. And I'm sitting in there, surrounded by all these, Gator fans, people far from God, of course, because they're Gator fans. And I'm sitting there, okay, and all of a sudden Miami scores a touchdown, and I instantly raise my hand like this. I'm like, yes! Take that, and I'm just in their faces. I had no problem raising my hand there. It was really easy to do. And see, that's the thing. Jesus makes it clear. We are in a fight. It's a battle of the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light. That's where that resistance comes from. Here's the second image. It's a garden image. Jesus talked about it. So I'm not going to talk about it. He says, I'm the vine, you are the branches. And then here's the third one. A person in training. Here's what Paul wrote to his young apprentice, Timothy. This is such a great passage. He says, have nothing to do with godless myths and old wives' tales. Now, this is so practical for us today, because right here, this is why some of you are wavering in your faith or your faith is warped. It's it right here. You see, you spend all this time listening and watching stuff, and you don't realize it, but this stuff is discipling you. It is shaping you into its image. You are watching CNN, or you are watching Fox, or you're watching TikTok, or you're scrolling social media, and you don't realize it. It's creating algorithms, man, and this stuff is filling you up, and then when you get bumped, it just spills out of you. And this is why some of you get mad when you see a Jesus follower that actually doesn't agree with those things, and you can't understand why, because you have let those things shape you in its image. And then he says this, rather, train yourself to be godly. Not try to be like God, but train. Very different idea. And then he says, for physical training is of some value. Now, please hear me on this. I am not anti-get in shape. I work out 6 days a week, and I love it. And the reason why I do it is because I'm hoping it makes me better in all the areas of my life. But I do not work out to keep myself from experiencing the realities of aging. And let me tell you why. And for some of you, this is going to be a shocker. Here's why. Gravity wins. Gravity wins. It doesn't matter. It's going to soften and sag at some point. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you tuck it, hide it, Botox it, whatever you want to do with it, okay? Listen, aging always wins. And what Paul is saying is like, hey, physical stuff is important, but it's not the most important. And then he says, but godliness has value for all things. And this is really important. He says, man, if you grow deeper in your relationship with Jesus, it'll have a ripple effect into every area of your life. And then he says, holding promise for both the present life and the life to come. In other words, Paul is elevating our thinking again, and by giving us perspective. And he's saying, as you grow in your relationship with Jesus, you will discover this interactive relationship that everything we bring into that relationship becomes eternal. For many of us, we hold on to this life so tightly because we have bought into the lie that this life is the life. But as a result of doing so, we have actually shrunk our view of how we could live, because we aren't living for anything larger than this life. So those are the 3 images. And there's more, but these are the main 3. And here's what we see about all these images. They all take effort on our part. They all take work. For some of us, we are anti-work, anti-effort. And we say things like, I was saved by grace, not by works. That is very true. But once you make a decision to follow Jesus, man, listen, you got a lot, and we have a lot of work to do to step into that. I want you to think about just the images that we went through. I want you to think about the battle images. Can you imagine if our country went to war and our military started enlisting people, and man, they didn't even train them. They just sent them out to battle. I mean, can you imagine that? I've never shot a gun before. This is going to be great, you know? I want you to imagine just a garden. I mean, it is hard work to grow a garden. I mean, we just don't throw seeds out there and then come back in a month and we go, man, I got to toss salad here, man. This is how it works. And training for stuff. You know this. If you've ever trained for something, you know this. You know, you train for something, and you've had to work, you've had to sweat, you had to, you know, sacrifice, all that stuff. It takes work to do. And the same thing is true with following Jesus. It doesn't matter where you are, it's going to take work, it's going to take effort like any healthy relationship. Yeah, as a church, as we were planning and praying for this bold season ahead, one of our top priorities, in fact, we said this is such a top priority that we don't think that God can move in a way to reach 5,000 without this. One of our top priorities is that we wanted to create environments where our relationship with Jesus could flourish. And as a team, we latched on to the image of training. And we created, it's taken about over a year to do, we've created what's called a training plan. In fact, next week, I'm going to roll it out. Man, it is awesome. I mean, you want to just talk about just a clear path on how do we grow in our faith and how do we bed faith, all that stuff. You don't want to miss next week as we roll that out. But here's what we want to do. We want to help train one another to follow Jesus. And this isn't a series thing for us. This is a thing for us. This is going to filter into our kids and our students, our entire church. Now, as we do this, for many of us, there's going to be some challenging aspects of this. And I think the main reason is it's because for some, it's going to require us to shift our thinking and how we approach church. You know, for many of us, our approach to church is like going to a mall. And you go to a mall, and what do you do for a mall? You buy things, and because you buy things that you want, you always get something out of going to a mall. But as we move forward, we need to shift our approach to going to a gym. That we come to church, and we come to church because we are getting in shape. You know, most people who are new to the whole, you know, gym thing, getting in shape, they just don't like run to the gym and just start doing a bunch of exercises, you know? Most people don't do that because most gyms, they have trainers. And these trainers are there to train them to get in shape in the proper way. So what does a trainer do? They help, they lead, and they guide. The same thing is true when it comes to following Jesus. You know, we make a decision to follow Jesus, and then the natural question is, so what do I do now? And the reason we ask that question is because none of us has ever done this before. And so it's like, well, what do I do now? And the reason why we struggle with what do we do now, because following Jesus is not about following a bunch of values or virtues or just becoming a better person. To follow Jesus means to step into a different life. And we all need help to be trained to step into that different life. So, do you want to grow in your relationship with Jesus? Do you want to do it? Do you want to go there? Or let me say it this way. Do you want to follow Jesus? Or do you want to just settle for being a believer in Jesus? And you can settle for the believer part, and here's what a believer will constantly experience. Distance from God, little transformation, and you'll constantly wrestle with, am I truly living out my purpose for my life? But a disciple, they will begin to experience, because they'll be trained to do it, what does it mean to really experience God's presence and allow Him to transform me? And what does it mean for me to step into my true purpose in life? I want to close by giving you two things. As we kind of go on this journey together, two things that are essential. Can't happen without this. Two things that are essential if you want to grow in your faith. Two things. Here's the first one, humility. Humility. And humility is not a feeling, it's not an emotion, it's a perspective that leads to a certain posture. I heard one person define humility this way. It's the simple agreement of who God is and who I am. Who is God? God is the King of Kings. He's the Lord of Lords. He is the source of all life. God was not made for us. We were made by him and for him, and he loves us, and he wants what's best for us, even when we don't agree with it. Who are we? We are not any of that. And listen, that's okay. Humility is the gateway for God to work in our life, because we finally get to this place where we recognize our need for God. Because the truth is, we can't live for God without living with God. Second thing, hunger. Hunger. Do you really want more of God in your life? Is your soul stirred and going like, man, where I am now, this is not enough. This is not enough. Do you really love God? Is God a priority in your life? Is that the case? And one of the ways, once again, you can just kind of look at your time in your checkbook. If you're not moving and taking steps, you just need to come to the terms with and be honest with, you may not be following. Listen to what Jesus says about hunger and the need for hunger. He says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Here's the thing about God. God only goes where he's wanted. And God wants us to want more of him. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. It's another way of Jesus was saying, they're going to live a life that bears fruit. I love this quote from Pastor Alexander McLaren. Here's what he said. He says, you have God in the measure in which you desire him. Only remember that the desire that brings God must be more than a feeble, fleeting wish. Wishing is one thing, willing is quite another. Lazily wishing and strenuously desiring are two entirely different postures of mind. The former gets nothing, and the latter gets everything, gets God. And with God, all that God can bring. You ever see one of those really old couples at a restaurant? And you just kind of see them eating together, and you look at them and you go, if I get married, or, you are married, and you go like, I want to be like that. I want us to be like that. And they're just sitting there at the table, and they're just, staring at each other the whole time, and you're thinking like, man, can they really see? Do they really? But they can, and they're just like, they're locking eyes with each other, and they're sharing food, they're sharing their teeth, and they're probably sharing other things that we don't even know about and don't want to know about, okay? But man, they're just sharing everything. And you go, man, I want that. I want that. But here's the thing about that. That didn't happen by accident. They didn't ignore their way or randomly get to that place, that deep relationship. They cultivated it. And they cultivated over decades and decades and decades. They worked at it. And the same is true with following Jesus. It takes work. But it is so worth it. Because not only do we get to experience him, and if that was the end of it, that alone would be enough. But we get to become like him. And as we become like him, we truly begin to understand what does it mean to live a life that lasts. Let me pray for us. And Father, as we step into the fall, and we start talking about something. I mean, it's why we're here ultimately, God. We want to know you. Maybe for the first time, or for some of us, man, we're unsettled. Our faith is not in a place. We're wondering, man, what's this all about? We hear these things, but there's a disconnect. And God, my prayer is that you would stir every heart in this church. And it'd stir so much that we would have such a desire for more of you in our life. And we wouldn't settle for just believing in you. But God, we go all in. And we'd say, I'm following. I'm bringing it all to you, God. And maybe today we draw a line in the sand and we go, no. I'm in. I'm in. God, I pray that there would be a humility that we approach you with and allow you to be who you are and allow us to be who we are supposed to be. Now, for some of you, as I went through this, you would say, I believe in God, believe in Jesus even. You have never surrendered your life to him. You've never humbled yourself. You've never done that. And I want to give you a chance to do that. And the way that you do that is I'm going to pray. My prayer's not perfect, but you say, God, I'm a sinner. I've been trying to close the gap between you and me because of my sin, doing good things and just believing it's not enough. I believe you died for me and you rose from the dead. I'm giving my life to you. And let today be that day that you do that. I want you to pray along with me. Father, I'm a sinner. Can't save myself. I believe you sent Jesus to die for me. And not only did he die for me and die in my place, he lived the life that I could never live, and he rose from the dead, conquered the thing I could never conquer without him. Fill me with your Spirit. I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm going to give all my life to following you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus, for rescuing me. And if that's you, and you made that decision, I want to encourage you to get out your phone and text the word begin to this number. And the reason I want you to do that is because it marks the moment. It allows us to pray for you, and it allows us to send you some resources as well. And perfect time to do that as we go through this series. And Father, we thank you that we get to do this together. God, I pray that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people would take steps and they would discover exactly what Jesus said when he talked about abide and a life that bears fruit. God, we do that, 5,000 is nothing. In fact, community transformation, that's possible as well. Thank you, God, for it, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. I want us to continue in just a time of prayer and response as we kick off this season. And I want to have everybody stand for a minute. Oak Creek Franklin, I want you to stand as well. I want everybody to stand. I'm just going to read this passage again, because as I read this passage and we talk about training to follow Jesus, this is the vision. Don't settle for anything less than this. Don't settle. Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. We're going to sing a song that is all about abiding. And as we sing this song, no matter where you are, if you're like, man, I'm not anywhere near that, or maybe I'm here, wherever it is, let this be a prayer for you that God, wherever you are, I want the next step. I want a next step. Let's sing this song together as a church.
For my waking breath, for my daily bread, I depend on you. I depend on you for the sun to rise, for my sleep at night. I depend on you. I depend on you. You're the way, the truth, and the light. You're the well that never runs dry. I'm the branch and you are the vine. Draw me close and teach me to abide. Where my spirit as I'm following, we sing. I depend on you. I depend on you for the victory. Sin in front of me. I depend be our prayer here. One voice, let's sing that out one more time. You're the way. You're the way, the truth, and the life. You're the well that never runs dry. I'm the branch and you are the vine. Draw me close and teach me to abide.
What a beautiful song. Now, that song reminds me that the most powerful thing that we can do is stay connected to Jesus and to remain in him and let his life flow through us, because when we do, he produces something in us that we could never make happen on our own. And that's what this bold season is all about. Trusting God, abiding in him, and then stepping out into faith as he leads. Now, here at the Ridge, we have been dreaming bold dreams together to bring the hope of Jesus into every home in our community and to help 5,000 people find and follow Jesus by the end of 2030. And that's not just a big goal, that's a God-sized goal. And the only way that that happens is if we all take part in this movement of bold hope, bold love, and bold impact. Now, earlier this year, we invited our entire church to take part in their first steps towards Bold. And let me tell you, God is already doing some pretty amazing stuff. In fact, Forrest, the campus pastor at our Oak Creek Franklin campus, had a chance to sit down with a pretty awesome couple. And this was their first time that they had ever given to something like this. And I don't know about you, but I can't wait to hear what God is doing in their lives. Check out this story.
Well, hey guys, thanks for being here with me today. Just introduce yourselves, introduce like who your family is and a little bit of your background.
Okay, so I'm Lindsay Yang.
And I'm Chi.
And we have 3 kids together. We have Addie, who is 5, Rosie, who's 4, and Bennett is 2.5.
How long have you been coming to the Ridge?
We've been going to the Ridge for 4 years. So when we moved to Franklin, that was March of 2021.
Okay.
And then we had our daughter in June of 2021. So during all of that, we were trying out different churches and ultimately landed on the Ridge.
So when you guys first started coming to the Ridge and maybe heard about the idea of giving here for the first time, or we did a giving moment for the first time, did the two of you ever have a conversation together before Bold on what does giving look like?
Not super in depth, like as much as Bold made us think about it. At that point, I remembered giving occasionally, but it was like whatever I like felt comfortable with, not a set amount or a set percentage. I mean, Bold made us really think about it, so we figured out what the 10% was for us.
Actually seeing the numbers of it, I was like, I don't know. Like I was a little hesitant about that because it was a lot they were giving away. And, like I know our spending habits and like what we buy and things, and it's just like, how do we afford the same lifestyles when we're giving that away, you know?
I still just felt this peace about deciding to give, which I can't really explain because for someone who's depressed and anxious, like peace is a foreign concept, but I did feel peace once we started faithfully giving. And I think it's because we were being obedient. Like it made me a cheerful giver.
What does it feel like now to write that check or to give digitally, or however you're giving? Like, what does it feel now that you've stepped into the idea of tithing?
It's an overall like good feeling because I didn't think that I was gonna feel this way about it, because at first I was a little apprehensive, but now it's like, this is actually really doable.
Yeah, do you miss it? Like, I mean, do you miss that dollar?
Sure, seeing it on paper made us miss it a little bit, but it going out every week doesn't bother us. It's a responsibility. It's what we need to do. It's an act of obedience.
So if you had one thing you could say to our church, if there's people that haven't joined Bold yet, haven't committed to being a part of it, there's new people that have walked through the doors of our church since we've started Bold, like what would you say is advice to them on taking the step to be a part of Bold?
You might think it sucks or it's going to suck, but when you just do it and like you just trust it, everything just falls into place.
It's worth it, and you'll feel the rewards of it, whether it's like in your heart or in your bank account. You'll feel it.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you guys for sharing your story, and just personally honored to know you guys, be a part of your guys' life, and just to watch you take your steps of faith in our church and that you're part of my campus. So thank you guys.
Thanks.
I absolutely love this story because it shows that you don't have to have it all figured out to be a part of what God is doing here. You just have to take your first step, just like the Yangs did. Now, one of the most powerful ways we move this vision forward is when we bring our first and our best to God. And when we give, we're not just giving to a church, we're giving through the church to bring the hope of Jesus into every part of our community. So right now, we're going to take some time to give. And if this is your first time watching with us, please be our guest. Don't worry about this part of service. But if you call the Ridge your home and this is where you go, then I invite you to give using the link that you're seeing on the screen. And we're going to do this together right now, and then I'll be back. Thanks for doing that with us. And if you are ready to take your next step, just follow the links that you're seeing on the screen and you'll find some really helpful tools that you can use this week. And don't forget to come back next week for week 2 of training camp. Mark is going to be back and he is going to be diving into some pretty key parts of Jesus's journey, and you're not going to want to miss it. And as we wrap up today, remember this: through Jesus, we have hope. And now we get to carry that hope wherever we live, work, and play. Have an awesome week.
This place, fill this space, fill this place, fill this space.
Awaken my senses, you found me when colors fade, lit up my heart again, with joy I just can't contain. I see with new lenses, I filter the world through you, believing before I see, your spirit is guiding me. Taking on the old and made me new. before. Your presence has me wanting more. I've never felt this free before. Your presence has me wanting more. You've taken all the old and made me new. I've never known a life this colorful.
I was distant, had a glimpse of life without you. Now I'm coming back to my senses. Couldn't make it on my own. From a long way off, you saw me, God, to the Father's love. I'm coming home. You met me more than halfway. I heard you call me out by name. You set me free. Now I will never be the same, never be the same. You met me more than halfway. I heard you call me out by name. You set me free. Now I will never be the same, never be the same. Undeserving, never thought you could forgive me. Now you wrap me up in your mercy, pull me close and won't let go. Oh. You met me more than halfway. I heard you call me out by name. You set me free. Now I will never be the same, never be the same. You met me more than halfway. I heard you call me out by name. You set me free. Now I will never be the same, never be the same. From a long way off, you saw me, God, to the Father's love. I'm coming home. From a long way off, you saw me, God, to the Father's love. I'm coming home. You met me more than halfway.
can take rest, cause the living God is living in my chest. Every day I wake up feeling blessed, and even if I don't, I see it as a test. Cause I was lost until you found me. Now I know you're all around